Yes, hi. Welcome to ArtSpeak University. I'm Jason, part of the ArtSpeak team, and I know we're setting a foundation for the online ArtSpeak online community. So whether you're watching right here, right now, the live recording, or you're logging in later, and welcome. And we've been going over our core values, which I do think sets really the pillars of this community, this culture, that we hope gets very, very contagious. These are what we have just mind as these are the values, both aspirational. We want to build around these things. We want to build on these things, but also what was already emerging as happening. So today we're going to talk about empathetic honesty as one of our core values. But I want you guys can see right away that these all build on one another. So the first week, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about this is about people. It's about you. It's about those that we serve, and it's about those that are influenced by those that we serve. So this is about people, start to finish. You're a person, those we serve are people, those we serve with are people, and then those that we influence together. So I think Kirk has a graphic. If you want to throw it up there, you can see how this progresses and builds. Gratitude is an operating system, right? And so if you didn't check that one out, watch that. Buddy the Elf said smiling is his favorite. That was prescriptive for all of us, I think. And I think gratitude is one of those things that has the power to turn burdens into blessings, by just simply learning and training our mind on how to be grateful in all circumstances. And it's a muscle, you get better at it. So today, empathetic honesty. I think empathy is foundational. My wife, Ashley, and I are passionate about relationships and marital health and just communication and healthy communication. We were getting ready to teach a marriage retreat. We were leading a marriage retreat a few years ago. And I had pulled some principles out of John Maxwell's Everyone Communicates, Few Connect, his book, one of my favorite. And we were applying them to marriage at the same time. So a few years ago, Kirk and I were refining and the team, the communication triangle. And I realized, man, this is that. This is a connection. This is communication. And it was during that I realized all healthy communication if you boiled the entire conversation of healthy communication down to one word, in my mind, it's empathy. Am I doing the difficult work to think and feel like they might think and feel? So for today, I want to just give you rapid fire five, and I'm going to tweak them. I'm going to make them my own, but I'll give them credit because these are John Maxwell's points of connection. But I think I'm going to replace the word connection. I think it does that. We don't have to throw it away, but I'm going to throw the word empathy in there, right? So I'm just going to substitute. John said that this was connection does these things. I think empathy does these things because empathy connects. But here they are. Empathy increases your influence in every situation. Empathy increases your influence in every situation. Empathy is all about others. Empathy goes beyond words. Empathy always requires energy. And empathy is more of a skill than a natural talent. And I think sometimes when it comes to healthy communication, we're just like, oh, I'm just not good at communicating. I just get up there, well, we all can get better. We can all grow in our ability. So if you've ever found yourself like me, if you ever rated yourself as slightly less than empathetic, or if you've ever had a slightly less than empathetic moment, just be encouraged that empathy is a skill that is trained and that you can grow. And so if you think about our communication triangle, and if we have that graphic, we can put it up. If not, that's fine too. But you got us on one corner of that triangle, and then you've got them on the other, and that's that communication two-way street, right? And there's always a breakdown. There's always a hurdle. And often that breakdown and that hurdle is our reputation, what them think about us and them. What's that relationship? What is that connection like? We want it to be close, right? The closer that connection, the more we can go forward together. So our goal at ArtSpeak has been for a long time in our branding process, in our graphic creation, whether we're writing or we're going to help with social media, or we're designing our website. We're always trying to figure out, okay, who are you and who are they that you're speaking to, and then and let's craft that win-win up top. What is the hope, the desired destination, because that's where your message lives, right? And so to me, this communication triangle is the gospel applied to life, right? Because think about it, we have a God who didn't just like shout down from creation, hey thems, hey others, get up here, stop being bad and start being good, or come to heaven, just kind of rewind and just get up here. Instead, he became like us, felt like us, thought like us, was tempted in every way like us, be made in the form of man, and then obedience even to the point of death. Therefore, God lifted him up and thus created a paradigm for us to do the same. So I love this. I think our communication triangle is like, from Genesis to the end times, is like the gospel applied. And so are we willing to do the difficult work to think and feel like they might be thinking and feeling? One time, my wife was frustrated just once with me, that I recall. That's probably more times than that. But one time I tried to fix it right away. I thought, like, look, I don't want to go down this path. I tried to fix the frustration by saying, don't be mad at me for that. And contrary to my hopes in that moment, it did not solve the problem. In fact, it added to it. Those of you understand that, right? Because what did I really say when I say, don't be mad at me for that? It says, I don't care what you're feeling. I don't care what you're thinking. What I said was okay and good and not offensive. Don't be mad at me for that. So I saw like the mushroom cloud growing over the house, right? And so I just immediately rewound and said, whoa, if anyone said that to me, I would feel very frustrated. I would feel unseen, unheard, misunderstood. I would feel kind of alone if somebody would have said that to me and I just said that to you. I'm sorry. I remember immediately, we both were calm. And she was like, yeah, I do feel alone. I do feel frustrated. I do feel misunderstood. And I don't remember how we solved the problem. We did. But all of a sudden, because we were both calm, she felt seen and heard, and I had owned the mistake. All of a sudden, if you imagine the you and them, right, the corners of that triangle were a lot closer. The gap was a lot closer, and now we can go somewhere together. And friends, we help the church, a lot of it. We help organizations, and the church right now is not famous for being known as one who sees and hears and understands. But what if when someone hears of church, Jesus followers are like, yeah, man, those people just, I don't know what it is about them, but they just get me. They understand. Right now, I think it's the exact opposite. I think when people hear of Christian and church, they think of, they don't listen. They don't. In fact, I think for a lot of the messaging could be summarized in the end of the 20th century, beginning of the 21st century. Don't be mad at us for that. Well, man, what about the Crusades? Don't be mad at us for that. Well, what about this bias? Don't be mad at us for that. What about this person who said this and that and made me? Don't be mad at us for that. And what we've communicated to these individuals over and over again is, I don't care what you feel. I don't care what you think. What we said was okay. And friend, this is only going to escalate the divide. But the moment that we can apply empathy and learn to apply empathy, it will get closer. It may not solve the problem, but we'll be close enough in relationship enough, we can go somewhere good together. So empathy applied at works, man. If you're parenting, if you're struggling, if you're in a classroom and you got students, if you're a leader and you're trying, I think it works. If you're in a situation, here's a question I have for our team today and those watching later, and we can drop it in the chat here. Those of you, in the community, I think this would be a great ongoing conversation is, how about in your life? How do you know personally when someone cares for you? And this might get into the Gary Chapman 5 love languages. Well, they bought me this gift, or they spent time with me. Verbal affirmation. Yeah. How do you know? Someone said they cared, they encouraged, they shared a gratitude in a community with me. That always feels good to me. What feels good to you? I am curious, and it's rhetorical, but it's also not. I'd love to hear. So drop it in the chat. If they said something, what did they say? What did they say? What were the actual words that brought that life? If they gave you a gift, what gift did they give? If they served you, how did they serve? What did they do that was like, wow, that was extra and important? And I'll touch base on some of those. What I'm asking, when was a time that you felt seen? I love that eye contact and listening to understand versus listening to just respond. Hannah put that in the chat. That's so good. Eye contact, like actually listening. I was volunteering at a local television station. My pastor said to get trained at that, and it was not a fit for me, but I went through all their training and I was volunteering there. And this guy was like antagonistically Christian, against Christianity. I've met some antagonistic Christians also, but this guy was on the opposite side. And I just was like, there's nothing I'm going to say. There's nothing. I just knew there was no words that I could say. He's ready for the argument. He's fighting against me already because he saw my name tag, right? And it had a church name on it. And so I just listened. And I remember I got done. I was like, oh man, yeah. I just used words that were like, oh, I could imagine feeling that way too. I would be frustrated. I just and at the end he was like, oh, no one's ever just listened before. Like, I don't know where that guy is today. I have no follow-up miracle story. And then all of a sudden, no, he didn't follow me to a pond and be like, hey, can I get baptized? That didn't happen. I don't know what happened with him, but I do know in that moment, he acknowledged that no one had ever just listened to him before. And believe me, I've been in it. There's probably half a dozen people in my own family that would say opposite of me. So I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. It's a skill. Let's develop it. How can we communicate to those that live in our homes? What if it was about people and it started with you and I? How can we communicate to those who live in our homes? I see you. I see you. I get you. I love you. We're mandated that. Like Jesus, like, hey, love everybody. Okay. I like you. There's no biblical mandate for liking one another. I like you. I see you. I get you. You're funny. You're this. Oh, that's an interesting perspective. I see what you're looking at. And I like the way you looked at it. How do we communicate that? I love it. Jared, thanks for being honest. How you struggle with that question when it comes to my kids? Like, yeah, let's, I don't know that there's an answer to this. I'm just saying we're never going to get to a moment that there's an answer. We're never going to build that muscle of empathy until we ask the question, how can I help them feel seen, feel understood? I don't know, because here's the trick. I could tell them what I think they feel, and it could come across like I'm telling them what to feel. And that's not empathy. So you can't just tell people what they feel, because if you miss it, then, so I like what somebody else put. Yes, reflective listening. But like, you've got to reflective listen. And then you might have to ask, did I get that right? And they might say, no. In fact, that way you just said that is offensive. Like, oh, okay, let me try again. Remember, it's a skill. No one's good at something right away. You've got to get better at it, but here's ways to do that. So how can we communicate as an organization, or like a lot of us get the opportunity on behalf of organizations to communicate in a way that says, we see you. Not just promote the next thing, but how can we communicate in a way that says, we see, as an organization, now we're shifting from the home. I mean, in our own community, in our own culture, in our own work environment, I see you, I get you. I love that, Kurt, but listen first. Yeah, how can we say we see you creatives? We've got an online community for church creatives and for all creatives. You could be employed by a church or just be a creative. You're welcome here. How can we say, like, hey, we see you creatives? We see you churches. So I love, we just shared a few minutes ago before we hit record about the encouragement that Libby brought to a pastor who took the time to read. He's not a paying client, but we read his book and said, man, I see what you're going through. You thought your life was going to go this way, and then it didn't. And now you're here and you're doing this and that. Wow. And that's a great way of saying, how can we help churches see that we see you? How can we help pastors say, hey, we see you? How can we help entrepreneurs and business leaders say, hey, we see you? Is this how you're thinking? Is this how you're feeling? And then how can we help them communicate we see you to those that they want to influence? And again, most of our clients are churches or very ministry minded professionals in the nonprofit and for-profit space. What a great opportunity. What a moment we have in history where there's just such a need for the church, for the message to be, I see you. And honestly, me too. I've struggled with that. I've thought about that too. Yeah, I like Amy put, acknowledge that we've heard their points of pain and that they have specifically expressed that. Yeah, that would hurt. That does hurt. What about I've hurt like that also, right? Isn't that the model that Jesus gave? He became tempted like us in every way, was made like us in every way, obedient to the point of death. So he can not only say, oh, I know what it must be like for you, or that must hurt you. He can say, I know that hurts me too. And man, I think it's impossible I don't know, maybe impossible may be the wrong word, but just doesn't love declare, I see you? And so, I think the moment we have, I think we have a lack of empathy epidemic right now, right? Because I think when you just log in or log on, if you just want to get scroll happy, you can immediately fall into echo chambers. Or if you just want, that literally just all of the logical fallacies, if you've ever studied philosophy, are just apparent. They're just blatant, and no one even cares anymore that these are slippery slopes and straw men. And we're just, and what it says is, I don't care what they think. I don't care how they feel. What I'm saying is okay. And everyone says that agrees with them, says yes, and absolutely. And it's both, and it's loud, and then let's get louder, and there's more. So what an opportunity we have to apply empathy. And I saw, and you may have seen this, I thought it was fascinating even this week, empathy. I saw somebody post that honesty without empathy is cruelty, right? Because if I'm just going to drop truth, I just want to be honest for a minute, but I'm not going to take a moment. I'm not going to have any self-awareness about what you think or feel. I could be very cruel with honesty. Honesty without any empathy is cruelty. Someone posted that this week. I don't remember who, but it was good. I started making me wonder, though, what is empathy without honesty? Because remember, our core value isn't just empathy, it's empathetic honesty. What is empathy without honesty? In my mind, and we could rabbit trail on this, I'm sure, it's manipulation. Because if I'm not willing to be honest, I'm going to hide something. But all I want you to do is think that I know how you think. I want you to feel that I feel what you feel, but I'm going to hide truth from you. That's how abusers work. That's how neglect and that's how toxicity seeps in. Like, I get you, no one else does. Oh, I see you, no one else could. and it builds codependency very quickly. And it is how manipulators work. They're skilled. Their muscle for empathy is actually really good. It's just that they don't also have a thing called truth and honesty, which I love that about Jesus. He was full of grace and truth. And I think that is a really fantastic, yeah, I love that phrase, Keith, speak the truth in love. And so let's, how can we create a culture where we are doing just that? I had a phrase when I was a leader in another organization. I'd say, don't say it's all good, bro, if it ain't all good, bro. Or that, and this would be empathetic honesty's predecessor, say what you mean, but don't be mean. So I like empathetic honesty. I think that phrase is boiled down a bit better. But if I have something I need to say, let's just, whether it's in my home as a parent, well, it's to apply in a creative work environment, because that's where we all are today. But I am going to say, you are going to have a moment where you're going to need to say something that's going to bring honesty and maybe pain or frustration or pushback from somebody else. That's all relationships, right? It's not just, let me confront you. Anybody ever confront somebody and then you realize that you were off? Does that only happen to me? Because it happens to me most of the time. All right. So, which is why empathy will help you as I found, as I build that muscle more, it just helps me in how I'm talking about it. So how do we talk about it? How do we love? We're going to apply these values, right? First, it's about people. Again, these values build on each other. It's about people as a core value will help you be more empathetic, especially if you're grateful for, what are you grateful? So it's about people. Who are they? What are they personally going through right now? Right? Why would they say that the way they said it? Why might they do what they did? What could be going on behind the scenes that would lead them to say that? And then this isn't a core value, but maybe it's a cornerstone habit when we go to apply these truths and these values. Let's think the best about others, which that's a discipline. That is not, you can raise your hand if you want. I don't know that anyone's naturally like, that's their first response. I'm more of like the conspiracy theorist, right? And so, but let's think the best about one another. Let's apply, and that just takes practice. Okay, let me think through what's going on in their life. Are there any major stressors like life transitions or new job or new babies, right? Believe it or not, blessings, right? They're all little blessings and they're complicated, right? I have 2 complications that live in my home with me, and 2 blessings. I mean, they add what's going on in their life that brings about that stress. Financial difficulty will make people act different. A lot of times, when a client jumps down your throat, or it feels that way, they don't mean it that way. It was written in text that way. So we don't know the volume in which it was. And you talk to them, and if you think about it, well, they just lost all their funding and they have no future, and they're trying to recreate a future. It makes sense that the volume feels a little louder. They are inside, but by understanding that doesn't solve it. But when we can articulate back, I see you. I feel like you might feel, I think like, maybe you think like this, maybe you feel like this right now. Now a solution is so much easier, because I'm not just going to address, don't talk to me that way. Don't be mad at us for that. And even though it was justified, the base of that triangle might get further and further apart. But if I can apply empathetic honesty, now maybe I still have truth to bring, honesty to bring. What might they say? What might they be going through to say that? What might they be going on in their life that they would think that way? Understand those that are come alongside, and then be grateful. I think if you can take a moment to think about some of the gratitude that you might have for. So I'm building these values on top of each other. It's about people, what's going on in their life. I remind myself about the things that they are grateful for. I heard a story, Gary Smalley, longtime marriage enrichment teacher, created the Smalley Center now, and then merged with Focus on the Family. He had a running list of his wife that anytime they were in a conflict, he would go and open and read. And it was the list of everything he was grateful for about his wife, which then helped him navigate the conflict, helped him calm down, reminded himself of an equilibrium. Like, yes, these are the things I love about her. He never shared it. I found out from his son later on with his wife till after postmortem, she read the list. So I'd encourage you to express your gratitude earlier than that. But it's about people. We're grateful for them. But yeah, now I have, but with that foundation, can you see how much easier confronting a situation would be? The words that we choose, rather than, I can't believe you did this, don't ever do that again. Maybe those words are replaced with, hey, so I heard this. I'm wondering if you're thinking that. Help me understand. I'm wondering if we can find a solution for, so those are together words that take us out of the center fire, take them out of the hot seat and express. Maybe there's some others that we could talk about. I wanted to give some time for any feedback or questions, or I can even go back over some of the notes, and that's all my notes. Let's be like, I love our culture. I feel like we are getting stronger at this, both internally. It's a major paradigm, right, Uriah, for our branding, and Corey for our messaging. Maybe you could speak into anything that you're hearing, but just wanted to open it up at the end here to any group conversation. But empathetic honesty.
One of the things we talk about in messaging is we want to find out what it's like to be a long-term missionary where pastors live. One of the things that we talk about, the difference, in the communication triangle. There's always a break in reputation between any church, just because it's called a church, and the people that they want to reach and want to serve. And helping them heal that divide is an act of empathy, and walking them through messaging is asking them to stop thinking about their mission statement for a second, stop thinking about their vision, their core values, their internal culture and team, and to start thinking about people that they've never met before, who would love their church and who need to meet Jesus. And those are really powerful conversations, and they also help turn the focus outward, just because it is an exercise in empathy. Anyway, that's part of what I love about what we do.
I love that.
Just, I think it's really important, this what stuck with me with what you said, is that empathy takes energy. I think just human nature, the path of least resistance. There's a difference between the awareness of leaning into empathy and then making the choice to lean into it, because we know it's going to take us down a more of a expanded energy aspect of serving people in business. I love the example that you shared with Libby and Pastor Stan, and that took a lot of energy. So there's a difference between awareness of Pastor Stan and his journey, and going to be on for 3 more years after this would be initially transition season for him. Wow, Pastor Stan, this must be challenging to navigate for him to kind of ramp up in the middle of a place where he thought he was going to be winding down, to have that awareness, but then to lean into, how can I lean into more empathy to help serve this client and have these tangible connections to let the client know that we are partnering with you in your empathy to bring solutions. I think that's a differentiator that I have to keep in front of me.
I'm just really grateful for the fact that we have these conversations at work as creatives. I know my natural tendency is to get in production mode, and where people are less than product and performing tasks and things. And I think when you have something like a sauna that is literally addicting to just hit and you get animals flying across and that wonderful, beautiful satisfaction of that. I think this is a really helpful reminder of, I know we talked about empathetic honesty, but just the foundation of it being about people, always coming back to that. I think I just naturally struggle with that, my personality and being a man, and just really grateful for, I call my wife my anchor and I'm the rocket. And we're tethered together, and I always want to go faster and further than she does. And she always grounds me. She's like, yeah, I think your motives for that are totally off. And I feel like this core value system really helps. It's my anchor when I just want to blow past people and just be productive and get things done. So just a gratitude, not really a huge reflection on anything.
Jason, I had a question. I think for either a lot of us have been in this situation or maybe will be. I know a lot of church creatives that talk about it, like empathetic honesty in situations, like in team situations where they feel like it's not a healthy environment for them. And maybe they're learning some things about being healthy, and they need to have an honest conversation that ideally will lead to health, but I know there can be a lot of variations of that. So I'd just love your thoughts on, like, what are some ways we can be empathetically honest on a team that we're on, especially when we're pursuing health?
Yeah, so good. It reminds me of a story that I was actually thinking about sharing, where I was doing a consulting on site with a current ArtSpeak client. They're thinking about bringing us back right now, and I was with their creative team, and I was talking about empathy and communication triangle, and they were like, oh yeah, and I was like, we've got to think about those, and what do they think about, and what do they feel when we need to make sure our messaging from the church, this world is disconnected from the church, and they don't think about good things. And they were like, yeah, we've been trying to get everyone here to think like that, and we've been trying to get everyone here to feel that, to understand this is so good, we're so glad you're here. This was the creative department. They got it. And then I said, so let's apply this. When your pastor walks in and says, man, I need this graphic change by Friday, I wonder what's going on in his life. I wonder what the stress is. What do you think is on his plate? And then all of a sudden the light was shining so bright. Like they were like, I don't want to be empathetic towards my pastor. I don't want it. They're the ones supposed. Here's the challenge with empathy. It's always my job to apply it. I want others to apply it, but the only person who can apply it is me. I'm the one who has to apply it towards others. Empathy can only be given, it cannot be demanded. And so how can I give that away to one another on this team? How can I think through hey, Andrew, jump on a quick call with me. What's going on in Andrew's life? What's going on in Shelby's life? What's going on, what's going on in there? Oh, they just moved, and now you guys are settled in. But am I thinking through what you might be thinking through? So as we walk into a team, like if you're going to do teamwork, or like Uriah said, I'm gonna go fast. There's a song on the radio. I should quote it better, but it says, if you want to go fast, you will be lonely. But if you want to go far, you're going to need your homies. And so I like that. It's a new phrase, a new turn of phrase on an old truth, right? So if you want to go fast, you're going to have to do it alone. But if we want to go far and you want to make a big impact, it's going to take teams. If you're going to do it as a team, then if you're going to have communication, you're going to have communication breakdown. You're going to have conflict, but then that gives an opportunity for resolution. So I would say, don't say it's all good, bro, if it's not all good, bro. Right? Andy Mineo, yeah, he's good. How do we apply? I think that your question, I don't know that I want to resolve. I want to answer it. I think this applies to it, but I think it is the question. If we're going to work together, guys, let's apply empathetic honesty. We're going to have to be honest, but let's think through what they're already thinking through, work with their schedule, work with their timing, express terms of understanding, ask clarifying questions, think the best about what's going on in their life. and then say, hey, and help me understand this happened, or why isn't this getting done, or I feel like we're repeating the same problem. Like, how can we solve this together? And then now you're applying empathetic honesty. We can't pull punches. Like, I don't want you to. I want you to challenge me. I want to go far and fast together. So you can't, I would be blind without a team, right? I have lots of blind spots. It takes others to help see all circumspectly. We're 1 minute over. Fantastic question though. Great chat in the dialogues. This is great dialogue in the chat. I got that backwards. But also, so keep chatting in the dialogues, whatever that means. And those of you watching this in the recording on the online community, let's lean into this conversation. How can we be more empathetic and more honest? How can we help those that we serve communicate to everyone? We see you, we hear you, we value you. Let's go somewhere good together.